I really want to talk about the academics of CU Boulder. And really the beautiful thing about studying at CU Boulder is the idea that you can customize your education. So it really just starts off with, what are you interested in studying? Truly, what is that thing that you're interested in learning more about? And then what is that thing that you're maybe not have any idea, any interest in pursuing? And those customization pieces can come in the form of majors, minors, concurrent degree programs, and certificates. So these 4 items are going to be organized in our academic colleges. So for instance, we have the College of Arts and Sciences, which will feature our natural sciences, our social sciences, our humanities. Any of our languages will be also featured in here. So this is going to be the largest college, resulting in the largest amount of students, but we'll still have an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio, which means that not all of your classes will certainly be those larger lecture hall experiences. Now, maybe in conjunction into arts and sciences, you want to feature engineering in your customization. Engineering will feature anything like aerospace, mechanical, civil, environmental, biomedical, engineering, physics, anything really just wanting about engineering, regardless whether we have a major in that specific. So I know we don't have construction engineering, for example. You still want to inquire, because we can still be able to find that major that will best work for you and being able to serve what you want to learn. Now, we actually have so much overlap between the College of Engineering and the Leeds School of Business that we have built a physical bridge between the 2 buildings, not only to provide for great accessibility from one building to the other, but to provide for a beautiful metaphor that we want our students to consider both academic colleges at the very minimum. Now, with the business school, you will pursue a business administration degree, and then your emphasis is what's going to change. So that can be marketing, management, real estate, accounting, or finance. And of course, you can have more than one emphasis if you so please. Now, next, we also have the College of Media, Communication, and Information, otherwise abbreviated as CMCI. This is what I like to call our broadcasting college. It will feature journalism, communication, information science, media studies, media production, advertising, public relations. So essentially, if you like to be in front of a camera or behind the camera, being able to work in conjunction and being able to share everyday news, politics, sports information, this is certainly a college you might want to check out to be able to enhance those skills. Next, we also have the program in environmental design. I like to call this our design college because it'll feature architecture, landscape planning, urban design, environmental product of design. But what makes this design college more unique is that it's going to always have that environmental spin on it. So when you are designing something, you're always going to design it with the earth in mind, being able to design places that are going to have more sustainability and reduce our carbon footprint on this earth. Second to last, we have our College of Music. We like to say this is our smallest, but our loudest, right? Get it, because it's music. But with the College of Music, it is going to be an audition-based process. So you will certainly have to send in a recording of your musical instrument that you are playing. That does also include your voice. So that will be evaluated by the musical faculty. And certainly if you are not admitted directly to the College of Music, you can be directly admitted to the university as a whole and then work your way over to the College of Music. If you're not necessarily quite interested in pursuing a major opportunity within the College of Music, that is also okay, as we do have non-major possibilities. It just depends on your musical instrument that you do play. And beyond that, we also have music education, musical theory, and musical theater as well. Lastly, we do have the School of Education. The School of Education does house 2 majors, elementary education and leadership and community engagement. With leadership and community engagement, it's perfect for those social justice warriors, anyone looking to really be able to thrive in a nonprofit, start a nonprofit, or maybe look to go to the Peace Corps after graduation. And then we also have that elementary education major, perfect for anyone looking to become an elementary school teacher. But that's not the only possibility when it comes to teaching, as we do have licensure possibilities. So if you're looking to become like an 8th grade science teacher, first off, bless your heart. But second of all, then you would major in that science that you want to teach and then pursue the licensure for the middle school, secondary level. Overall, there's plenty of exciting possibilities as far as academic goes to be able to pick what you want to be able to flourish in. Now, of course, you might also be a student who's like, truly, I have no idea what I want to study. And I truly believe that there's this societal pressure where a student feels like they have to know what they want to study. And at CU Boulder, that is certainly not the case. You don't need to know what you want to study. That's okay. You're only 18, 17 years old. We recognize that. So that's why we've created the program in exploratory studies to be able to have you give you a space in your first year to explore all of your options, to find what you're good at studying, to find what you're not good at studying, to find out what all of those items are that excite you. What does it excite you about engineering? What excites you about environmental design? And really being able to pursue and help you get to that major so you can graduate from that major. So you can't graduate from exploratory studies, and it's not meant to delay graduation by any means. It's just meant to give you that year to have that time to know what your options are. Now, of course, academics are only one portion of your collegiate experience. We want you to also consider the community as well. And when we say community, we want you to think about CU Boulder and being able to see if you can find yourself at CU Boulder, to be able to understand the surrounding community as well, to understand what is in the city of Boulder that surrounds CU Boulder. So on top of that, not only are you trying to figure out CU Boulder, but you're trying to figure out how to be a college student, right? When you think about it, 5 months prior to you going to college, you had to ask permission to go to the bathroom, right? Now you have to announce, you had to announce your bodily functions to the classroom to get permission to go to the bathroom. When you think about it, it's kind of odd. So in college, you have this freedom. Certainly, we want our students to be able to handle that freedom well, and that generally comes within your first year and being able to understand, well, how do you study for a final exam? How do you become a college student? What does it mean to be a college student? What are the differences between high school and college? So with that being said, we do require students to live on campus their very first year. And so there are a couple different options with whether you want to feature an academic component within or just be able to meet people via an interest. So the academic component is the residential academic program, and the interest component is the living and learning community. Now, if you don't want to live on campus, certainly we're still going to be able to support you academically, but we will assume that you will live on campus unless you tell us otherwise. So if you have any questions, that's primarily something we'll tackle for next semester. So please keep that in mind. But as far as academic support goes, we do want to highlight our CU Lead Alliance program. Our CU Lead Alliance is a way that we can provide retention-based support for our students. So we want to not only admit you to CU Boulder, but we want to see you graduate. And there are a variety of CU Lead programs that exist depending on what academic college you're in. And you can also see there's going to be some campus-wide support system as well. So this is something that I want you to all put in your back pocket for next year, as they do provide participation scholarships for you to be able to study at CU Boulder just by being in these various programs. Now, outside of that academics and outside of the residence hall, we do have over 500 different clubs and community and student organizations that you can partake in. Anything like, as you see here, are multicultural fraternities and sororities. They are strolling for one another here in this photo. So if you want to be able to connect with people who look like you, who don't look like you, but you're still able to connect on this cultural level, we certainly do have that at CU Boulder. We also have a variety of other ways you can take it, all dependent on your interest and what you're looking for. So whether you want to study abroad or volunteer with our Volunteer Resource Center or be able to pursue research, that is all up to you. Now, of course, it could be something you've done in high school, like maybe student government involvement, or it could be something totally brand new, like we have our Taylor Swift Fan Appreciation Club, which is slowly dying on campus. So if anyone would like to participate, they are actively recruiting. So with that being said, we also recognize that your academics and your community will lead you to the final day at graduation when you're walking across Folsom Stadium and you're looking your loved ones in the eye and you're saying, Mom and Dad, I did it. I graduated from the University of Colorado Boulder and I'm a forever Buff. I certainly remember that day because as a first generation student, I didn't think I'd ever get there, but I will also never forget that day because my dad also wore a cap and gown and told everybody he was graduating from paying tuition. So that was the dad joke that he still brings up to this day. But with that being said, we recognize, and I keep saying we recognize, but it's just because we want to be as straightforward with you that you have so many great options in the Denver metro area, in the state of Colorado, in the United States, and all over the world. And this is quite an overwhelming process to decide what college you're going to go to after your graduation from high school. We want you to then look at the return in your investment, and that investment is having a CU Boulder degree. So our median starting salary for our CU Boulder students and graduates are $55,000, and our median career salary is over $111,000. Not only 92% of our students were employed or in grad school or military service within 6 months, and those that did choose grad school, so that does include medical school, veterinarian school, nursing school, PA school, law school, master's, or any PhD programs, 74% of them got into their top choice graduate program. Now, I know we were only able to really skim the surface as far as academics or community goes. We're going to go ahead and transition to the application part. And if you have any questions about that academics or those communities that maybe I haven't touched on, or you want me to elaborate more, we will have that admissions panel that you can ask myself and another colleague about. So please keep those questions for then. Now, with the application piece, we want you all to apply. I would rather a student tell me, no, Camilla, I'm going to go to CU Denver because they have, for whatever X reason, versus CU Boulder, rather than I wish I would have applied to CU Boulder. Do you see, I hope you all see the differences between the narratives there. So please just apply to CU Boulder as you want to create an option for yourself. Now, in order to apply, we are only on the Common Application. That is a third-party application that you can use to apply to up to 20 schools. Now, this is the point in the presentation where I have students ask me, well, what's the minimum that I need? And with that, we don't have a minimum. There is absolutely no minimum that we require from CU Boulder in regards to our GPA or our test scores. Now, really, truly let that sink in. We admit students with a 2.0 high school GPA, and we deny students with a 4.0 high school GPA because we do recognize that there's more to you than that numeric. There's more to you than a GPA, than a test score. So what we can provide is what's called our middle 50%. The middle 50% states that 50% of our students were admitted and somewhere in this range, and then 25% of our students were below these ranges, and the other 25 were above these ranges and were also successfully admitted. I've mentioned there's more to you than just that number, and that's what you'll also see when it comes to what we ask for in an application, such as your 2 short essays. We will also have that breakout panel later on today to talk about how to make your essay strong, because it truly can come down to your essays or why you've been admitted to CU Boulder. We like reading essays. That's why we ask for 2 more ways we can find reasons to admit you to CU Boulder. So please really, truly take that seriously because it's your chance to advocate for yourself. We also ask for an application fee, but you will receive an application fee waiver for attending this event. So look out for your email later on, as well as your high school transcript and your college transcript if applicable. And then you'll notice we are test optional. So it is completely up to you if you would like to send us your test scores. So let's break that down for a little bit because I know this can get a little confusing. If you don't like your test scores or you don't have the access or you don't want to take the SAT or ACT, awesome. Don't take it and tell us you're not going to be sending us scores. If you have taken it and you like your scores and you want to send it to us, then tell us you will take those, you will send us those scores. When in doubt, submit without, because I would hate for you to tell us, yes, I do plan on taking, yes, I do plan on sending CU Boulder the scores, and then you not being able to take it, or you not being able to, or you don't like your score. Now we'll still be expecting your score. So when in doubt, submit without, and we can also break that down in the admissions panel later on today. Now, we'll also ask for one academic letter of recommendation from a teacher, a counselor, principal, and then lastly, a list of things you're doing outside of the classroom to really give us an understanding of how you spend your time, whether you have a job, you're babysitting your siblings, you participate in a pre-collegiate program, or you are a part of any student clubs or organizations at your school. Please let us know that. Everything you see here must be turned in by November 15th for early action or January 15th for regular decision. So if you apply early, which I encourage every single one of you here to do so, you will know on or before February 1st. And if you apply regular decision, you will know on or before April 1st. So please apply early. Once you have submitted your application via the Common App, we will send you an email to encourage you to access your application status page. You could look at this as an application tracker. So it lets you know once your application is completed, if we're missing anything, if we are missing things, we will let you know with that application status page and by email. So definitely keep eyes and tabs on your email. Now, once we have received all items, we will conduct what's called a holistic review, which just means we're not going to run your application through a computer to let the computer decide whether or not you should be admitted. Notice how the first thing isn't a cumulative GPA, but it's what types of courses you're taking. What is the ultimate grade trend in your high school transcript? If you've had any dips, please feel free to explain that in your application. What are you doing outside of the classroom? And then lastly, any extenuating circumstances. This year, right? 2020 is a year, an awful year to say the least in some respects. And if at any point of this year has affected you negatively and has rippled into your academics, please let us know. And even if it was before this year, previous to 2020, life could still happen and could still have a negative effect on your academics. But truly, please let us know. Your application is as strong as you make it. And if you don't tell us these things, we just can't assume it. So please keep that in mind. And if you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to the admissions staff. Now, with this being said, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to financial aid to really talk about our fourth step, which actually should be simultaneously happening while you are also applying to colleges. But before I do want to acknowledge we also have our first generation scholarship. I know there's a lot of first gen students out in this Zoom room today. First of all, we love our first gen students. Go first gen. Yeah. And so please look out for this scholarship, and financial aid will also be able to talk about it too. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing and bring along my colleague, Steve Size, to be able to talk about financial aid.
Okay, so I think I'm going to share my screen here. Is it just this green button down here?
Yes.
Okay.
Go for it, Steve. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay. Can everybody see this screen okay? The should be the financial aid page.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you will actually have to, we're in the presenter mode. We see your presenter mode.
Okay.
There, if you click on.
Sorry, I'm a little.
If you exit out and just exit out of that.
Okay.
And then go to the bottom right-hand corner, right next to that slide bar. Keep scrolling down. There we go. And go ahead and click that button. Yep.
That one okay?
No, it's not. Go ahead and any other admission staff know what's going on here?
How about this one?
To display settings.
Is this good? This one better?
Yep, there we go. Perfect. Okay. Yes.
Sorry, I have like 3 monitors going on right now. Okay.
Totally fine.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steven. I'm one of the financial aid counselors here at CU Boulder. And today we're just going to do a brief overview of financial aid. This might be one of your first times hearing about the word financial aid or the term, or you may be a little bit familiar with it. So this is just kind of a general overview, nothing scary, just kind of walking you through the steps of what financial aid is, what the process is, and kind of timelines, stuff like that. So let's get started. So just an overview of what we're going to discuss today. First is cost, right? So we're going to go over the cost of attendance for the year. So a year attending CU Boulder, how much that is. And then we're going to discuss how to apply for financial aid. And then we're going to touch on our scholarships and our scholarship application. And then finally, we're going to discuss that financial aid offer and kind of when to expect that. Okay, so when talking about cost, there's the direct cost and then there's the indirect cost. Direct cost is costs that you as a student will be charged here at CU Boulder. And that includes tuition and fees. And then of course, for your first year is going to be that room and board charge. So your dorm room and then your meal plan. And then some indirect costs are costs that you could potentially accumulate during the year. So that's transportation costs if you have, if you decide to bring your car, like parking permits, and then there's books and supplies, and then personal expenses. So these indirect costs can vary from student to student. So it's really the direct cost is what you would actually be seeing on your student bill every semester. Okay, so for this school year, the 2020-21 cost of attendance, let's just discuss, let's just quickly look at the resident undergraduate student. So this is just based in our biggest college, the College of Arts and Sciences. So as you can see here, tuition fees is right around $12,500-ish. And then housing and meals is around $2,220, and that's for the year. And then, like I mentioned before, some of these are just the examples of indirect costs. So here at CU, we budget $600 per semester for books and supplies. A lot of students will stay below that 600, but if for some reason, you know, a particular semester it may cost more, we can always look at increasing that. So like just to repeat, what you're really going to be looking at cost-wise, charged up front is going to be that tuition, fees, and then housing and meals. And then the total is right around that $31,500. And then depending on your major, you know, what school you're admitted to, that number may vary a little bit. And then just briefly, the non-resident. So everything should stay the same here, except for the tuition and fees. As you can see here, non-resident tuition rate is right around $38,200. And these are also yearly costs, but everything else will stay the same. So overall, the cost of attendance for an out-of-state student is right around that $58,000. And then just to repeat, it may vary on your college of choice. Okay, so the path to financial aid. So the first step, which many of you are doing, I'm assuming, is actually applying for admission to the university. So that kind of gets everything going with us. And then the next thing is actually applying for aid. So the FAFSA application, the free application for federal student aid, opened up on October 1st this year, so just a few weeks ago. The best practice, I would say, is get it submitted as soon as you can. Our financial aid office will start reviewing, asking for documentation right around March, April-ish, usually every year. So the February 15th deadline is kind of a priority deadline just to have it submitted, just so you're on time with everything. And then once that's submitted, and then we're going to just watch a quick video. Let's see here. If everybody could hear this, I think it's like 2 or 3 minutes.
For FAFSA, it takes most people about 30 minutes to complete.
You could turn up your mic a little bit, Steve, and so then that way I might also your volume. I mean,
work study funds from the federal government, and many colleges and states use FAFSA information to provide their own college or state financial aid. throughout the online application process. You will need to fill out the FAFSA each year.
For those that struggled to hear the video, it is also posted on the financial aid website, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes.
we can be able to let's share that later on as well.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see. Yeah, they are posted, and there's a couple other helpful videos on our website too. Okay, so let's just go over some quick FAFSA tips. Let's see here. Okay, so just the recommended FAFSA deadline just for us is the February 15th, like I mentioned before. So just try to have at least the FAFSA submitted by then. Like I said before, we'll start asking for additional documentation around March, April-ish. So as long as we have the FAFSA in, we're good. The University of Colorado Boulder, our school code is 001370. So when you log into the actual FAFSA website, it's going to ask you what schools you would like your FAFSA to be sent to. You could either search by name, and then of course you can always just add our code. And this is also published on our website. Okay, so as a first-time student and parent filling out the application, you're going to create your FSA ID. The FSA ID is your your username for the FAFSA, and then a password as well. Both the student and the parent will have one each, and you will use that to actually sign the FAFSA at the end, and then of course logging in every year or during the year to kind of view. So just remember to keep that safe. But yeah, so two usernames and 2 passwords, one for the student, one for the parent. And then of course, within the FAFSA application, the FAFSA uses prior year. So for next school year, we're going to be looking at 2019 income information. So the FAFSA is going to be requesting 2019 taxes. One of the options within the financial aid section on the FAFSA is the IRS data retrieval tool. And essentially what that is the FAFSA will actually import either both student and parent taxes for the year 2019 to the FAFSA automatically. This just kind of streamlines the process for us. So we may not be asking for 1040s or additional tax documents at a later time. So if you can, the data retrieval tool is safe, secure, and like I said, kind of just streamlines the process for us a little bit. Okay, so types of aid from FAFSA. So there's grants. So grants do not need to be repaid back. Grants are more for low-income students, need-based, and the amounts of the grants can vary from student to student. Another need-based award is work study. So essentially, work study is usually an on-campus. There are some off-campus positions, and essentially, you would be working to help earn a portion of funding to help out with tuition costs, room and board, anything like that. And it's also a need-based award, so more lower income students. And then of course there's the federal loans. So loans do have to be paid back with interest. New interest rates are published every year, and it is a fixed interest rate for the life of the loan. There are student loans. First year undergraduate students can borrow up to $5,500 per year. So that's $2,750 a semester. And then there's also the parent loan. A parent loan is essentially it could absorb the rest of the cost for the year at CU Boulder, less any other aid. So student loans, scholarships, work study, anything like that. The only difference is the parent loan does require a credit check. So just to be aware of that. And then really quickly, the student loan amounts do go up every year. So as a second year sophomore, you would be eligible to receive $6,500. And then your last 2 years, junior and senior, you'd be eligible for $7,500 per year. And that is based on credits. Okay, so really quickly, applying for aid. the state of Colorado has a new application this year. It's called the CASFA. So it's the Colorado application for state financial aid. This also was made available October 1st. Our website right there, colorado.edu /financial aid /apply aid asset. There's a link directly to the CASFA application. Very similar to the FAFSA. It's going to collect the same information the FAFSA asks for, but essentially this application is for undocumented Colorado resident students. And like I said, I would follow the same timeline, February 15th, to get that in if that applies to you. And of course, this is also for grants, work study, and scholarships. Okay, so now that we've applied for admission, applied for aid, now we're going to briefly talk about our scholarship application. So we have our own internal scholarship application for both new and continuing students. It opens typically on November 1st every year, and then a lot of the deadlines are the mid-March. So March 13th is a good kind of date to keep in mind to get that submitted. And then there's also private scholarships. Private scholarships are usually open year-round, and we have a section on our website for resources for those. Okay, so financial aid offer. So once you're admitted, and then we're going to talk about, and then our office will actually send those requests for additional documentation. Typically our new students, our new admits will get an estimated offer before any documents are submitted, just so you guys can have an idea of what potentially you could receive here at CU. And then once all documents are submitted, we can actually send a finalized offer, financial aid offer, and this would be for the year. So it's going to be for the fall of 21 and the spring of 22. And then just real quick, so other than financial aid, so scholarships, grants, work study, and loans, there's also some other ways students pay for school. There's savings accounts, AmeriCorps, employer tuition benefits, vet benefits like the GI Bill, anything like that. There's also the college savings plans. So some students do have those set aside, and that's handled by our billing office, our bursar's office. And then every semester, the university offers payment plans. So the payment plan is a 4-month, sometimes 5-month payment plan for each semester. A lot of students will sign up for that. It's usually the 5th of September, you would have to sign up for that, and then February 5th for the spring. And essentially that's just going to divide your student bill evenly into the 4 or 5 month period. And then a common question that we get as an office, like I mentioned before, we're going to be looking at the 2019 income information. And by the time you guys start school, we're going to be in the 2021 calendar year. So obviously there could be some changes to income within the household. Some common examples that we get are loss of employment, especially this year with the pandemic, either loss of employment or cut hours or reduced hours, high medical expenses not covered by insurance. And then of course, there's also some marital changes that can also happen within that 2-year period. So essentially we have a appeal process where we could actually look at 2021 income information instead of 2019. And that appeal will be available March 1st of 21 for next school year. So this is just our website and then the specific kind of place where to find that appeal. The 2020-21 appeal is published on there now. It shouldn't change too much, but if you guys just want to review that. And of course, we can always walk you through the guidelines of that if you want to give us a call or email us. And then real quickly, I know we touched on first generation in the last presentation. So the first generation scholarship, it's for undergraduate students, residents of Colorado. It's also a need-based award. So it's no parent or guardian cannot have a bachelor's degree to qualify for that. The FAFSA and our scholarship application need to be submitted for you to be considered for that scholarship. It's $4,000 for your first year if you live on campus, and then it's $2,000 for off campus. And like I said, the scholarship application will open on November 1st. March 13th is a good deadline to keep in mind. Those scholarships are based on academics, leadership, employment, if you had jobs throughout your high school experience, any community service, and then some scholarships are also need-based as well. So it's a variety of reasons why certain scholarships that you may qualify for. But I would urge everyone to submit that as soon as you can. Okay, so just a quick recap. So aid from FAFSA. So like I said before, it's the grants, federal loans, work study, and some scholarships. And our scholarship application sometimes does require the FAFSA to look at those need-based scholarships. So it's always good just to submit the FAFSA, whether or not you're going to qualify for any grants or work study or decline the loans. It's always good just to have that on file for scholarships. And the application takes about 25 to 30 minutes to complete. So it's not too bad. And then our scholarships. So like I said, there's the automatic consideration ones. So that's just based on your high school transcript, I believe. And then there's our internal scholarship application. And then there's the list of private scholarships that we have as well. And then the other ways to pay, like the payment plan, savings, and then briefly, we didn't touch too much, but there's also the private loan. So private loans are not offered through the FAFSA. So our office does have a list of lenders that we kind of use here at CU under our loan page. Another good resource is to start with your bank or credit union to see if they offer a private loan. Typically, the federal loans are usually better loans to borrow first. Like the parent loan is usually has a lower interest rate, and the repayment plans are a little bit more flexible. But also private loans are always an option though. And then right now, if you guys just want to jot down our contact information, right now we're available via phone and email most. We're 9 to 5. And then if you guys want to just jot down our website, so there's the financial aid page. So this is just going to talk about the loans, work study grants. Student employment page will talk about work study and hourly positions. And then of course the scholarships has their own section to go over all the application, CU Boulder application, the private one, and then the automatic consideration ones. And then always good to check your email often, as we will be communicating via email the most. Thank you guys.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steve. So now we'll go ahead and open it up to our financial aid panel. I know I've gotten some awesome questions already about financial aid. I've gotten some questions about admissions that I'm going to go ahead and table for the admissions panel later on today after this financial aid panel. So Cassie is our other financial aid counselor who has joined us as well to help us answer these questions. So just a couple of key points for the financial aid panel. This will be general. So I'm looking, primarily to be able to tackle those general questions as a chat monitor to announce to our lovely 2 financial aid counselors, just for the purposes of time. If you do have any specific family situation questions, they do encourage you to reach out to the financial aid office. So please don't hesitate to reach out by any means. There are ways for you to pay for school. One of those I always say, a scholarship a day keeps the bank away. Go ahead, financial aid, if you want to borrow that, feel free. But truly, a scholarship a day keeps the bank away. If you get in the habit of applying to a scholarship a day, then the worst thing that they can do is tell you no, or here's $500, however you can, use. I was watching TV the other day and Dr. Pepper is like promoting scholarships. I know Megan Thee Stallion has scholarships. So feel free, look around. Everyone's handing out money and are looking for students to give it to. So I'm going to go ahead and open it to the very first question. How do you determine financial aid for non-citizens or permanent residents?
That is a good question. So we would still have you, if you're able to fill out the FAFSA, that's the best way for us to determine if you can get aid. If not, then we have a CU Boulder financial aid application essentially that you could fill out to help us determine what aid you could be available from state funding or CU funding. And then scholarships would then be the next best, because those, while some scholarships require a need-based component that requires the FAFSA, not all of them do. So a lot of them are merit-based. And you would just have to be a student here at CU to be able to be eligible for those. So, and then any other further detailed questions, that's a good conversation to have with one of our counselors to go over everything in more detail.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Moving on, what is the advantage to submitting FAFSA early?
The advantage to submitting the FAFSA early and getting your file completed and getting your award package from us is that while federal funding, so the Pell Grant and loans don't run out. If you're eligible for them, you will receive them. CU funding does run out. And so we award our CU grants on a first come, first served basis. So if you complete your FAFSA later in that time frame, closer to like summer or when school's going to start in August, more than likely we will not have any more CU grants left. So even if you're eligible, you wouldn't be able to receive them. So the sooner the better, so that we can get you the best aid package possible.
Wonderful. Can you explain how do you find private scholarships, and generally what does that application process look like?
Yeah, so private scholarships will depend on each specific donor that is providing those funds. The best way to find those is if you go to our scholarship webpage. So it's just colorado.edu/scholarships. We have a tab on our main page that says private scholarships, and we have tips and tricks for how to do effective searches for scholarships. We have a whole section on being aware of scams. The number one thing to make sure is that if anyone is asking you to pay for anything, it is a scam. Do not do it. And then we also have a link that says search websites and resources. And from there, we give you a list. I think we have 10 or 15 search engines that you can start. So we have vetted them. We've gone through and done the application process or set up accounts just to see how it will go for students, so we know that they are not scams. And so you can start on one of those, create an account, and then search for, there are thousands upon thousands of scholarships. Each application is going to look a little bit different, again, depending on what the donor or the scholarship is looking for, if it's just an application or if they want an essay or a short answer or a resume. But yeah, so the best place to get started is on our own webpage.
Look at that, y'all. We don't want you to pay CU Boulder. We want you to find other people to pay for you. So please take advantage of it. Awesome. So I have a question here about legacy scholarships. I'm just going to answer that really quickly. Our legacy scholarships are for CU Boulder students who have grandparents or parents who have graduated from CU Boulder. That is through the alumni office, and that's called the Buff Legacy Scholarship. So please, if you just Google Buff Legacy Scholarship, it will come up. Cassie, can you explain the financial aid options for international students?
So international students, unfortunately, don't have a lot of financial aid options. So the best place to start is with the international office. That's not what it's called, but you can go there and they can help you find additional funding. But unfortunately, you can't get any loans or anything like that. However, international students, we encourage them to fill out our CU Boulder scholarship application, because there are some scholarships that you can be eligible for. So definitely do that.
Wonderful. Once again, if you have any financial aid questions, feel free to put those in the chat directed to me, and I'll be able to get to them if possible. Cassie, can you talk about what exactly is work study and how do you find those opportunities?
Yep, so work study is a need-based program that is funded by the Department of Ed and also some of it by us as well. So you have to fill out the FAFSA to determine if you're eligible, and then it will come with your financial aid package that we send to you. And then on the student employment webpage, which there's a link to that main page from our financial aid webpage. If you go there, there's a tab to find a job and you can search. And so work study jobs typically are on campus. Even right now, we still have work study. They're all remote for us in our office right now, but they are still working. And work study comes as a check. So you get a paycheck every 2 weeks. It does not go toward your bill. Obviously, you can get the money and then pay your bill, but we send the money directly to you because you are essentially an employee of the university. Normally there are a ton of work study jobs on campus. I honestly don't know what it's going to look like for the next academic year. I know that financial aid will continue to have work study, and other offices are doing their best. If we have to stay remote or if a work study position needs to be remote, they are making that happen. But yeah, so the easiest way to find jobs and apply for them is from the student employment website. And it's basically like applying for any other job. So you apply, if they select you, you get an interview, and then they let you know if you're hired or not.
Awesome. And then overall, I have a statement/question here about the acceptance process or the admissions decision process, and then how does that result in CU Boulder scholarships? So you will find out your CU Boulder admissions decision before you find out about your financial aid information. So please keep that in mind. They're not going to release any information about scholarships. However, you can still apply to these scholarships as an applicant. So you can still apply to our CU Boulder scholarship application, regardless if you know your admissions decision or not. Awesome. So there's a clarifying question here about how does FAFSA work when sending it to schools like universities and colleges?
So in the FAFSA, you can put up to 10 different, sorry, that's my cat, hold on. You can put up to 10 different school codes on the FAFSA. And then when you submit, it will send your information to all of those different schools, and they will go through their financial aid process when they are awarding students. And so you can put up to 10 and then see a lot of, I don't know what other schools are doing, but students typically do that so that they can kind of see what their different options are going to be before they decide. Since we don't do financial aid packaging until you've been admitted, it might take a little bit longer to get that information from us. But once we get that information, if we need anything additional from you, we will reach out to you and let you know via your student email account. And then at that point, you would just work with us to get everything finalized.
Awesome. And then when a student submits their FAFSA, are they automatically going to be looked at for grants, work study, and or loans, or do they have to specify that in their application?
Oh, no. Yeah. There is a question on the FAFSA if you're interested in work study. I encourage students to say yes, because you never know. So if you're undecided, then click yes. And if you're eligible, we will get you packaged for that. But yes, when you submit the FAFSA, you are packaged with everything that you're eligible for. So the Pell Grant, CU grants, loans, and work study.
Awesome. And then can you define what exactly is a first generation student in order to qualify for the first generation scholarship?
So first gen, they have to, so neither parent has completed a degree. And so they have to have marked no for both of those in order to be put into that pool for the first generation scholarship that we have.
Wonderful. Have a lot of questions here, folks. So exciting. Thank you so much. Going to get to them as soon as possible. We have about 9 more minutes here. So this question, do you have to apply to college first before filling out the FAFSA? And I'm just going to answer that, yes, please. I mean, you can send the FAFSA to the school before having submitted the application, but again, we're not going to be able to provide you any financial information about CU Boulder unless we have your application in the Office of Admissions. So we talk to financial aid a lot. And again, we're not going to be able to release any information unless we have that application. So that's why that application is so so important to get out, and it creates that option for yourself. Moving on, can you talk about financial aid and whether it will financial aid for CU Boulder and if that works for the other CU schools or not?
No, so the package that you get from CU Boulder is specifically for our campus. So any other CU, like that's part of the CU system that you would want to go to, you would have to send your FAFSA application to each of their campuses separately.
Awesome. Moving right along here, I have a question. If you are not a low income student, but might qualify for a CU scholarship, should you submit the FAFSA?
So my policy, and I feel like I can speak for our entire office, is we encourage everyone to fill out the FAFSA because you don't know until you get it back what you're going to be eligible for. The other thing too is that even if you don't think you'll be eligible for grants, it's nice to have a FAFSA on file so that if something happens and you need a loan, it's ready for you, and you don't have to start that process to be able to get that. So I encourage all students to fill out the FAFSA just to see what comes back.
You mentioned loans there, Cassie, and I always say, debt is kind of like fire. It has the ability to keep you warm, but also has the ability to burn the place down. So certainly feel free to take that with you. I have a question. I have completed the FAFSA. However, my family and I believe that the EFC given to my family doesn't reflect our income. Is there anything you recommend we do? Thank you for being so helpful. Also, thank you to
so we do have a process in our office. It's called a professional judgment appeal. And because we understand that when you're submitting the FAFSA and your taxes are 2 years back, it's not necessarily going to be a good representation of where your financial status is currently. And so through your Buff portal, there is a medical and income calculator that we ask you to fill out first with your current financial situation. And then after you submit that, it will let you know right away if you will be eligible to fill out a professional judgment appeal. And then you complete that. That's a pretty detailed process. And you can work with a counselor to go over exactly what to do for that. But once that is completed, we review those and then let you know if there's any additional aid that we can get you if that EFC was able to drop lower. So yes, there are ways around getting us more up-to-date information for financials.
Wonderful. Now, can you also explain what the IRS, the beautiful effect of the IRS data retrieval tool, and how does that work?
Yeah, so that helps out in a couple of ways. One, it makes filling out the FAFSA easier because the majority of the information that you're submitting on the FAFSA is your tax information. And so if you can link your FAFSA to the IRS, then all of that information pulls over and is put in directly from what you submitted with your taxes. So it just makes that initial process easier. And then secondly, if your file gets selected for verification, it helps that process go smoother as well. So definitely a benefit to trying to link your FAFSA to your taxes and submit it that way.
Awesome. And then if but if a student finishes the FAFSA, do they need to fill out the CAFSA? I hate that acronym. Sorry, I can never say it. But if they have filled out the Colorado one.
So it's so new. Steve, you might have a better answer for this one. I don't know if it's required.
I don't think so. I think the CASFA is just for, like I mentioned, just for that specific population of undocumented students. So the FAFSA is not required. I think the state went towards the CASFA to avoid that population having to fill out a FAFSA. But essentially, it's going to be asking similar information.
Yes, the beautiful thing was previous to this application, an undocumented or DACA identified student would have filled out an asset application for every single school that they were applying to. So with the Colorado application, it alleviates that, it avoids that. So you only have to fill out this one and can send it to all those schools, like similarly the FAFSA. So it is a good move on on Colorado's part. So how does automatic consideration for scholarships work? I can answer this because automatic consideration scholarships are run by the Office of Admissions. So this is what we call our merit-based scholarships. Regardless whether you submit test scores or not, we will be able to evaluate your application holistically for a merit-based scholarship. It shows the importance of being able to really, take pride and really take your time with every piece of your application and the materials, because we can give you money automatically from something in your application. So take your time, don't rush to submit your application, because it can be automatically considered for you to receive money based off of the Common App. Now, moving on. And so, yes, those are the merit-based scholarships, just to clarify. So moving on to another question. What happens if a student has already submitted the FAFSA but did not put CU Boulder on the list?
You can go back in and edit, make changes to your FAFSA and just go to that school code section and add us in and then resubmit, and it will send it directly to us.
Wonderful. This is specifically about first generation. If a step parent has a degree, would the student be still considered first generation?
No, yeah. So we're just looking at, I believe we're just looking at biological parents. We've done some changes on the scholarship recently and made some more in this upcoming selection one. So I actually would need to double check on that, on what the specifics are. But you can always send an email to scholarships@colorado.edu and we can get that question answered for you specifically.
Awesome. And I see some questions in here that are regarding admissions and just the application processes. I'm not avoiding it. I just want to focus on financial aid questions. So I want to make that clear. If you have a sibling or a student has a sibling currently in college, how does that affect the FAFSA? Does that get taken into consideration?
Yeah, it does get taken into consideration. So one of the questions are how many, basically how many people are in college in the household. And so that does affect the overall EFC. I don't have the specific numbers because all of those calculations are done by the Department of Ed, but it does take into account that there will be 2 or more in college for a specific academic year.
Wonderful. And I have one last question here about who, I know some students have parents, biological parents, they have step parents, they have their legal guardians. What ultimately should they put on the FAFSA, and what is the rule about that?
So when you have split families like that, it is the parent that it's your custodial parent or the one that you spend 50% or more time with during the year and support you in that way. So those usually get a little bit tricky. So questions like that, I would definitely advise you to give us a call or shoot us an email so that we can help you out with that. But the rule of thumb is custodial parent or who you spend more than 50% of the year with.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Steve. Thank you so much, Cassie. We are going to switch gears here to talk about our breakout rooms. If you have any questions about financial aid, I'm so sorry if your question did not get answered in this space, but they are always available to take your question over the phone or email. And please reach out to them. They can meet with you also one-on-one. So any parting words, Steve or Cassie?
No, thank you everyone for coming. And yeah, if you have any questions or concerns, give us a call or shoot us an email and we will be happy to help.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye. Awesome. Well, for those in the room, students, families, please don't leave. Steve and Cassie are the only ones leaving, as we're going to switch gears to head over to our breakout rooms. We have three breakout rooms. We have the admissions panel in this room going to happen at the same time, as Cameron just posted the link for the other 2 breakout rooms for a total of 3. So we have the common application walkthrough, and we also have an essay writing workshop. So they're totally different Zoom rooms. You also have these links in the email you received to access the Zoom link. So please keep that in mind. Feel free to hop back and forth. Just do know if you do hop between breakout rooms, they're not starting over. You're just going to jump in from where they are, where they're going. So we will wrap up at 3. Please take this time to check out these breakout rooms. Feel free to head over there now. If not, if I don't see you in my breakout room, I hope you all have a wonderful day. So remember, again, we have the admissions panel, in this Zoom room. So if you have an admissions question, please stay here. We have our common application walkthrough, and then we also have the essay writing workshop. So please head over there for the remaining half hour of the event. We'll give it about a minute or so for everybody to find their way over to the proper breakout room. Once again, you can hop back and forth from one to the other to the next, go back to the first. So please take advantage of that. Give it about a minute for everyone to hop around. I see people leaving. Hopefully they're checking out breakout rooms. Anyone wants to, I think I have a buffalo joke in my head. What did the dad buffalo say to the son buffalo when they dropped him off at CU Boulder? Bye, son. Bye, son. Get it? So, okay. Well, with that note, let's go ahead and transition to our admissions panel. Thank you, Cameron, for that round of applause for my joke. I am going to introduce my admissions colleague who will also be helping me answer any questions about CU Boulder, not only admissions, but like academics or community or things like that. So I'm going to have Perry go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll have Cameron introduce himself. So go for it, Perry.
Hi, y'all. My name is Perry Watts, and I am one of the assistant directors of admissions here in the office, and I'm actually the Texas regional. So I am based in Dallas full-time and cover Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and Kansas. So none of you, but I'm excited to be here with you today and help out my fellow buffs in the office.
Awesome. Thanks, Perry. Go for it, Cam.
Alrighty, hello everybody. My name is Cameron. I'm the program coordinator for on-campus programs in the admissions office. So I'm not quite an admissions counselor, but work with on-campus visits and our student ambassadors. And yeah, happy to be here with you and see you all here today.
Awesome. Thank you to the both of you for being here. Once again, this is the admissions panel. If you are looking for the essay writing workshop or our common application walkthrough, those Zoom links have been posted. So please head over there, and do know you can hop around breakout rooms. So feel free to send. I'm going to have Cameron Wilson be our chat monitor. So please, I do believe you have the ability to send questions to Cam. So we can have him announce those questions. We'll get in any questions. So if you're sending me questions, please copy and paste that to send it particularly to Cam. So then that way we can keep the flow moving there.
Okay, cool. Already getting a nice influx of questions. So let me just scroll up to the top here and see what I got first. Let's see here. Oh, here's a good question. Let's see. Okay, we've had two questions about this. We've had some questions about computer science at CU and the difference between a BA and a BS at CU.
So I can share a little bit, and then Perry, feel free to add. So the BA and the BS, so one stands for the Bachelor's in Arts and the other stands for the Bachelor's in Science. It really comes down to the curriculum and what would change. So the Bachelor in Arts would allow you for more flexibility if you planned on double majoring or pursuing another minor, because you have that art piece that provides for the flexibility in being able to do that. With the Bachelor in Science, you tend to have a stricter curriculum. So you can still pursue like a double major or a minor, but you would really want to work with your academic advisor to be able to do that. So they're both in the College of Engineering, and you can specify which one you would like to study. Perry, do you have anything you want to add about that?
I'd say you covered it. Just main thing with that BS, it is a bit more regimented. So you're not going to have as much space to play around and try new things. But with the BA, you definitely can.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you for answering that. Next up, we've had some questions asking about student involvement on campus. So what does that look like, and how easy is it to get involved as a student on campus?
Yeah. Perry, you want to go?
Yeah, I can do that. I'd say it's very easy. So kind of like Camilla mentioned earlier, there are over 500 different clubs and organizations on our campus. There are programs within your residence halls, there's research, there's Greek life, there's volunteering. So if you just step out of your dorm room, you don't even have to go outside of the building necessarily, but just step out of your room, there should be people willing and waiting to do just about anything. And so we are a large public university, so it can get a little difficult to stand out and reach out, but as long as you're willing to just kind of take that first step, the opportunities are definitely there.
I have nothing to add. Definitely, please get involved. Please, it makes your college experience so much better. So definitely get involved.
Awesome, thank you. And kind of on the same subject of on-campus involvement, what does housing, would the housing experience look like your first year on campus?
Yeah, so it's as far as housing goes, so like I mentioned, it is required to live on campus your very first year. However, we do have a petition for students to live off campus. I know it's especially more important now to talk about that due to COVID reasons. But with that being said, if you are looking to live on campus, when it comes time, you do need to receive your admissions decision first in order to then confirm and then fill out the housing application when it does become readily available. So with the housing application, you can set a variety of preferences when it comes to what building you would like to live in. With COVID, though, it is definitely, the elephant, the COVID elephant in the room. And we're not necessarily sure how housing will look like next year. So please keep an eye out in your email. That's going to be more information that would be released next semester about housing looks like. Right now, we're going based off of the assumption that it will still be a mix of in-person and online classes, like that hybrid approach, but you would still be able to live on campus. So you'll have about 6 to 8 different preferences you can set on the housing application. But as far as that go, anything you want to add, Perry? Anything I missed?
I'd say you covered it all, really. Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, sweet. And we've also had some questions kind of talking about the Lead School of Business and engineering as well. So there's students that are interested in these, but know that they're pretty competitive schools as well. So what would happen if you apply to CU, you select that you would like to apply to the engineering school, but you don't get in? How could you potentially still move into the engineering school or even the Lead School later on in your CU career if you don't get in initially through the process?
Yeah, so if you are not admitted to the major of your choice, whether it be business, engineering, or any of them right away, then you'll be admitted to the program in exploratory studies. And then you would work towards completing the intra-university transfer or IUT process. And so each college or school will have their own process. It's all available online. I would maybe even be able to drop a link just to give you an example. And then as long as you complete those requirements, then you can transfer into the major of your choice. And so it's not a matter of if you get to pursue what you want, it's just a matter of when and which door you're walking through. Is it right away from the beginning of your first year, or is it a little bit later on?
Amen.
Okay. Cool, thank you, Perry. And kind of going off of that as well, what are the top, there's a student asking the top 5 majors, the 5 most popular majors at CU. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I can answer this. So I actually, to tell you the truth, do not like this question, only because I can certainly tell you all what the 5 most popular majors are. But, certainly if you have no interest in those 5 popular majors, we can still be able to provide you a major that you're interested in studying. Every school is going to offer different majors. They're going to be called different things. For example, CU Boulder does not have nursing. I would not recommend CU Boulder for nursing, to tell you the truth, to be that true advocate. I would recommend a school that does have nursing, like CU Denver or UCCS, but I'm sure there's a lot of other schools that also have it and that don't have it. So it's more about, do we offer the major you're interested in pursuing? What are you interested in? Maybe we call it something different at CU Boulder. So I would rephrase it to, what are you interested in studying, and what are the best majors for you to look at?
Yeah, I think sometimes this question is almost a proxy for what are the best majors you have. And I think that's sometimes what students are trying to get at with it. But the thing is, we wouldn't offer it if it wasn't an excellent program. We just wouldn't. That's just not what we do. And so I could tell you the 5 most popular ones for students to apply to, but that tells you nothing about the quality or or your experience or even what you're looking for. If yours isn't on the list, that doesn't mean it's a bad one.
Okay, yay. Okay, great responses to that question. Thank you, Perry and Camilla, for answering that. So there's some students that are interested in applying to CU and then also potentially taking a gap year. So what would that look like as far as deferring and then taking that gap year?
I can take this one. It's fairly simple, and this was true even pre-COVID. Once you have your decision within your applicant portal, on the right-hand side, usually there is a link that says request a term change. You would go in there, you request that change to the next fall or even the spring, if that's what your choice is, somewhere in that 1 year time window. And then we would approve it and you would be deferred. You can only do that for 1 full year though. So if you have a situation where you're needing 2 years to defer or something like that, you'll want to work with your admissions counselor to see what options may be available.
Great, thank you, Perry. And then also talking about the application process a little bit, when is the deadline to decide if you actually want to attend CU Boulder or any university for that matter?
Yeah, great question. So the national confirmation deadline is going to be May 1st. That's when you can kind of expect that all colleges need to know by. It definitely is that national deadline. However, where might be availability for us to accept you after the 1st, it just becomes on a space availability basis. So you can kind of just have in your mind May 1st for that deadline.
Perfect, thank you. And then Camilla and Perry, would you mind explaining the difference between early action and regular decision, please?
Yeah, early action basically means you'll find out earlier. That's the biggest part of it. Like Camilla mentioned earlier, early action applicants will find out by February 1st. Regular decision will be by April 1st. So that's the biggest benefit. Also with early action, you can be asked for additional information. Like let's say we're kind of on the line, we're not sure if we can admit you or not. We could ask for updated grades or something like that. Whereas with regular decision, we will not. Those are the two main, I'd say, big benefits to early action, but Camilla, you may have some more too.
Yeah, I was going to share definitely on top of that, it gives you more time to financially plan. So like you see, there's a lot of steps to the financial aid process, like applying for scholarships, like filling out the FAFSA, and they might ask for a form for verification from you. So please keep that in mind. It can give you more space to be able to fill out the financial aid and then know earlier what the cost of CU Boulder will be. And it also gives you the time to virtually visit all of the schools you've been admitted to, knowing that just because you find out April 1st does not mean that the confirmation deadline gets extended. You will only have that month to make a decision. So it gives you more time to virtually visit those schools, to consider all those options, and for your family to make that decision financially about what is the best school to go to in that regard.
Awesome, thank you. Next question here, and thank you for, there's so many questions flying in. There's so much enthusiasm for this, so I appreciate all of that. I apologize if we don't get to all your questions, but we'll definitely include a link so you can connect with your admissions counselors after this to ask any further questions, but we'll just keep on trucking along here. Let's see here. Okay, so do you, and this is similar to what we recently talked about, but do you have to apply by November 15th to qualify for any merit-based scholarships?
No, you do not. So for our merit-based scholarships through the Office of Admissions, as long as you apply by the regular decision deadline, that January 15th one, you can be considered. Now, if your application is not complete on January 15th, then it becomes a late application and you're not being considered, but the difference between early action and regular decision doesn't matter in terms of our merit-based scholarships.
Great, thank you, Perry. And next question. So talking about on-campus life a little bit more and getting involved. What is the difference between club sports and intramural sports?
Yeah, so in regards to sports, there's 3 different tiers that we offer at CU Boulder. So we offer the NCAA D1 sports competition package. That is going to be for football, basketball, tennis, cross country, track, ski team. We have 17 NCAA sports, and those are usually, if you're looking to compete on that level, that's by talking to the coach of that respective sport. Now, in regards to club and intramural, club would be the second tier. You do have the option to compete as well. So you can compete and travel. So that could be Frisbee, ultimate Frisbee, that can be the crew team, some ski club teams, soccer or men's soccer is a club team, just to name a few. And like I mentioned, you can still compete against CSU or other schools, regardless whether they're in the Pac-12 or not. And then the intramural level sports are going to be sports like inner tube water polo, which sounds fake, but is real, where you can be in a tube playing water polo. And it sounds very hard. I heard it's a great ab workout, so if anyone's looking for that. But and you still have volleyball, you still have basketball, flag football, and you're competing against other CU Boulder students. So you are not competing with other schools. It's just the other teams in a league at CU Boulder.
Awesome. Thank you, Camilla. And would you both mind explaining a little bit more about what education abroad is, or studying abroad is, and how you could potentially pursue that as a student at CU?
Yeah, so education abroad can be actually a lot of different things. You could go overseas and be a traditional exchange student where you're at a university in another country. You could do one of our CU Boulder Global Seminars where you're overseas with a CU Boulder faculty member and other CU Boulder students taking classes. You can do independent research overseas. You can do internships overseas. You can go for a week. You can go for a semester. There's a lot of different options there in our over 400 different programs in 65 plus countries. And so we hope that gives you the flexibility you need to kind of pursue whatever you want, or even go multiple times. In terms of getting started, you'll want to get in touch with the Education Abroad office. To my knowledge, they are either a part of the involvement fair, have their own involvement fair early on in the semester. If you don't see them for whatever reason, you can always reach out to them directly, let them know what your plans are, and start planning early so that you can go abroad as much or as little as you want to.
Great, thank you, Perry. Yeah, and I love that question. I love education, but I think that's always such an amazing experience that can really enhance your perspective. So yeah, I always encourage students to check into that because it can be quite the experience. Okay, and has a couple of questions coming in. So with CU being a large public institution and having students potentially come from smaller areas in Colorado to attend this university, how can you try and create and I guess find your community at CU with it being kind of a big public institution with so many students?
Yeah, so I really like this question because it does tackle, like, CU Boulder is a school of about 32,000 students. That does include undergraduate and graduate. However, the beautiful thing about CU Boulder is that you can always make it feel small rather than trying to make a small school feel big. So when you start getting involved and you start meeting people, you'll come to find out, start recognizing them everywhere you go. I was involved in things like student government for 2 years. I worked on campus. I started a mentoring program in the College of Arts and Sciences as a student that still exists. I also was a part of, I started my own club on campus for anti-bullying. So it's just really finding out what you're interested in being able to, like, what interests you want to really be able to connect people and be able to, like, really find people who also like. It's completely up to you. Perry mentioned our involvement fair. We have a fair every semester. Even this year, we had it virtually for you to be able to find the student clubs and organizations that exist. They host, normally they host a table on campus, and to be able to hand out information to students, and you can sign up. So it can truly be, I know there's like a waffle and laser tag, or like a pancake and laser tag club, where everyone's this first Saturday of the month, they get together and go to IHOP, or no, they go play laser tag and then they go to IHOP afterwards for like endless pancakes. So it really can be what you'd like. We have our ski clubs. We have, a variety of different ways. They could be academically based. We have our traditional multicultural and academic fraternities and sororities. It's really about what you would like to, be able to meet people where, on. And I do encourage, you're going to get involved all throughout the 4 years. So you don't necessarily need to find those clubs your first year and then that's it. You can't join any other clubs. You can still join clubs sophomore, junior, and senior year, and still find that participation there. But the idea of being able to get involved is that it makes your school feel smaller. So then that way you don't feel like you're swimming in the ocean. You're just swimming in, at Red Lobster or something. I don't know. But, Perry, would you like to add anything about that?
I would really just reiterate what you said. It's getting involved. That is the way to make it start feeling like home. That's how you get to know people. That's how you make connections. There are other people that have the same interests as you, that are driven in the same ways you are, that grew up the same way you did, all those kinds of things. They're on campus. You just got to kind of find them. So like I said earlier, like just step out of your dorm room, like take that first step and it should kind of start flowing from there.
Perfect, thank you. And on the topic of getting involved at CU, there are a couple of virtual Zoom sessions about that that you could participate in as a prospective student. So it's called Getting Involved at CU and Finding Your Community, where we talk about how you can get involved at CU, and then you also get to hear about experiences from our student ambassadors where they can kind of talk about how they found their friends and kind of found that home away from home at CU. So definitely encourage you to check out that option as well, because it's definitely a really important thing to look at when you're looking at colleges. Going more off of this involvement topic, could you both explain a little bit more about fraternity and sorority life at CU and what that looks like for our campus?
Yeah, so we definitely have Greek life. About 15% of our students participate. So it's definitely there if you want it, and that's an experience that you're looking to have. But if you're not interested, you can still have a social life. There will still be plenty for you to do, like we talked about earlier in this session. In terms of getting involved, you'll want to connect with our fraternity and sorority life office on campus, look at the information they have. If you have any connections to particular chapters, you may want to go through that, since that will happen after you've kind of been removed from our care, I guess you could say. It's going to happen after you've kind of moved on to campus and gotten started.
Yeah, and I can touch on, I mentioned that there were 3 tiers. So we have the traditional Greek life. That's kind of, that's Chi Omega, that's Kappa Alpha Theta. So it really, just to name a few sororities, as well as we do have our fraternities. So you can take a look at particularly which ones we offer at CU. We have our multicultural ones, which follow the same Greek lettering, but are going to be more of a cultural connection. So tend to be for students of color, tend to be for students who want to be able to connect with other students on a cultural perspective. And then we have the academic fraternities. So those academic fraternities are co-ed, and they're going to be more about your GPA, if you're in a certain, to be honors affiliated, and maybe even for if you want to go to law school, we do have a pre-law fraternity, again, co-ed and based off of academics.
Great, thank you both for answering that one. Moving on, so I have a couple more questions about the application admissions process at CU. Is there an interview required, a virtual interview required for the admissions process at CU?
No, sorry, I was like shaking my head. No, there's not. We don't require an interview as part of the process. We don't conduct them. What you can do, if you have questions, comments, concerns, whatever the case may be about CU Boulder, you can book a one-on-one appointment with your admissions counselor just to talk, but that won't play any role in your admissions decision. It does not move the needle. You don't have to do it to check some box. Come talk to us if you have questions, though.
Great, thank you, Perry. And have one question here about honors programs. So how could you apply or get into these honors programs? And then is there any kind of living component associated with that?
Yeah, so we have a variety of different ways for you to get associated with an honors program. So there's honors programs called academic college specific. So for example, we have the College of Arts and Sciences honors program. We have the Leeds Honors and Leeds Scholars program. We have the Engineering honors program. So it's just dependent on your major and where it lies in regards to an academic college. If your academic college does not have a honors program, that also might be a case where we do have specific, or not specific, more campus-wide, a general honors program, such as the Norland Scholars and the President's Leadership Class. So there are a variety of ways for you to find that honors involvement that goes beyond just what your GPA is and if you submit a grade test score or not. It's just really dependent on what are you looking for to get out of that honors involvement. You can also graduate with honors by doing a thesis. That's something that it's for current CU Boulder students for graduation.
Sweet, thank you, Camilla. And what else do we have here? I've lost my place where I was. Let's see.
So while you're doing that, Kim, I did get a question about the access for the recordings for the for this session.
Okay. Yeah, we can see. I think, I don't know for sure if this will be put up on our website. We do have some content on our website where we do have some recordings of our previous sessions that we have done. So I think we can put this one up on there after. I don't know when exactly we'll get this on, but definitely check back on our website, and it hopefully will be on there soon after. Let's see. So we've had some questions talking about, so like if you both could talk about one thing that you love about CU Boulder, one thing that's so amazing about CU Boulder, and one thing you would potentially want to change about CU Boulder as well.
That's a great question. Perry, would you like to go?
I can go first. Yeah. I'd say probably my favorite thing is just the amount of opportunity and flexibility. I know I sound like the company man, but really, there's so much you can do, and it's so flexible. You can do what you want. My undergrad institution was not that flexible. You kind of had to pick your path and stick with it. So I really appreciate that CU is open to all different kinds of experiences and all different kinds of ways to put together that education ultimately. So that's my favorite. And the mountains, but you know, it's about education. My least favorite, if I could be really honest with you, I would prefer, and this is part of what we all work towards in this office, I would prefer that CU Boulder be more diverse in terms of race and ethnicity. We are a diverse campus in a lot of different ways, and I love that about us. You know, you have 34,000 people. It's going to take a little bit of everybody. But in terms of race and ethnicity, I would like to see us become more diverse, and that's something that our office works on a daily basis, and that's part of why I'm here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer this question to wrap up this event. Now, for my favorite thing, I mean, I went here, the whole idea that we have football games where a buffalo runs around the stadium to get everybody excited is pretty cool. I don't think any other school in the nation has that. And fun fact, you can try out to be a Ralphie runner. That is a varsity sport at CU Boulder. You won't compete against other like buffalo runners in the nation, but it's still a cool thing to be able to brag about for the rest of your life. So definitely regret not doing that. But overall, I do believe in the value of a CU Boulder education. I found my community. I had a job right after college and then transitioned to admissions very easily. So I definitely recommend it. I've have so many friends that I've known from CU Boulder who are, one graduated from nursing school, another's in medical school right now. One just passed the bar and went to CU Boulder Law after she went with me to school at CU Boulder undergrad. So it's super exciting to see what all my friends are now being able to do with their CU Boulder degree. The one thing that I don't like, and I agree with Perry, is the fact that it is a predominantly white institution, and you all need to know that when it comes to making the best school decision for yourself. It does mean that there are other schools that are not PWIs. We have Hispanic serving institutions and HBCUs, historically Black colleges/universities. So it's just important for you to know when it comes to potentially avoiding the culture shock that might come with attending CU Boulder. Now, with that being said, I know time's up. So I want to thank everybody for being able to join us today. I did submit the link into the chat with our recordings for other sessions that we've had even during the summer for future information sessions and future virtual visit experiences. You can check out that link online. Please look out for your email. In about an hour, you will receive your fee app waiver, as well as a link for your survey. So that survey, we do ask you fill it out, be honest, tell me you don't like my jokes, tell me you did like my jokes, tell me you want to send me money for how good my jokes was. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Please don't. But I will be here, certainly for the rest, for if you want to hear more jokes, feel free to email me. But as far as if you do have any other questions, we do recommend you email admissions@colorado.edu. Cam, if you could put that in the chat. And if you are wondering who your counselor is, who your admissions counselor you should reach out to, then that's a great starting point, as well as other general questions. So once again, in an hour, you will receive that email with a flyer that contains your application fee waiver and a survey with the link to the survey. So with that being said, thank you again, everybody, for oh, I have a compliment about the bison joke. Thank you. But yes, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here. We want to answer your questions. If we didn't answer it today, that doesn't mean that we don't want to answer it later on. So feel free to reach out to us. We're not scary people, as you saw. We're all smiling here. We want to talk to you. Please reach out to us. Perry, Cameron, any other last remaining words?
Contact your counselor and breathe. You're going to make it through this one way or another.
Breathe. Yay.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think the college admissions and application process is already a difficult thing to go through, and it's even more difficult with a pandemic going on. So you all are just rock stars going through this, and you have an awesome team at CU that is ready to help you through that. So I did just quickly include that link to connect with your admissions counselor, so you can reach out to them and connect with them in case you do have any questions that didn't get answered today. But yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye, y'all. Thank you for all the thank yous. I appreciate that as well. Yes, go Buffs. Yes, I realize these are private messages to me, so just know that. I know it's they're not in the, yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Go Buffs.
Have a good evening. I guess it's like mid-afternoon there, huh?
Oh yeah, enjoy the snow. At least we don't have to drive anywhere to get home after this, because essentially we're all home. Awesome. Oh, thank you. All these sweet compliments about my jokes. You guys are so sweet. Awesome. Well, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna go ahead and end the session here. Admissions folks, we will debrief tomorrow. Awesome. Take care, everyone.
Bye.